Hello, I'm Kaylee Thomas, Senior Marketing Manager here at KORE, and joining me today for another Quickfire interview is David Evans. You're the Global IoT Solution Architect from Robustel. David, it's great for you to speak to you today, discussing some of those hurdles to global 4G LTE IoT deployments.
Good day to you, Kaylee. Thanks for having me back.
Pleasure. So, global IoT deployments, that's really easy, right? Considering IoT has been around for so long, you should think that shouldn't be a hurdle now, but interoperability still remains quite an issue, and a little known is around the hurdle of 4G frequency fragmentation. Now, for those like me who don't know what that is, could you explain a bit more about what that is and sort of the impact, really?
Yeah, no problem. So there's a fundamental challenge that most people don't expect when they start thinking about connecting their devices or their machines, whether you sell packaging machines or you sell generators. You know, a lot of people want to ship those globally, and when they land in the target country, they want to switch them on and have them connect back to HQ. And with the advent of 4G, it's actually got far more difficult than anyone would expect it to be. Back in the good old days of 2G, there were only 4 different frequencies you really needed to concern yourself with. And even on 3G, pentaband modems were generally all that you needed to think about, as in, you know, 5 frequencies. But all that has changed when 4G became mainstream, especially for IoT stuff. And if you have a quick look on Wikipedia, there's now 88 sort of recognized 4G bands. Now, the majority of those aren't used, but you know, there's still dozens that you need to consider when you're deploying all around the world. So in terms of global deployments, you really need to think carefully about the frequencies, especially on 4G. And it was only about 2 years ago that the first low-cost, truly global 4G cellular modems, or modules, as they're also known, appeared on the market. And Robustel were early adopters of these. So we were able to quickly give our mutual customers, KORE and Robustel, truly low-cost, globally applicable devices from a frequency perspective.
Blimey, that's quite a change from 4 to 88 in such a short amount of time. So
Yeah.
Our second hurdle, if you will, is certifications. So you sorted out your frequency, but now from global deployments, certifications can change. Now in Europe, we're lucky with CE, and also the US have FCC. But that's just the start of the story when it comes to global IoT deployments, when you're looking outside those regions or including those regions in your deployment.
Yeah, very much so. So certainly Europe, with you know, the harmonization across Europe on CE, the fact that no other standards or tests need to be invoked, it's very easy. And actually, what we see is it leads to people, you know, sort of having false hope that it's going to be that trivial when you go outside of Europe, and it really isn't. And a lot of people are shocked about how time-consuming or complex gaining the relevant certifications in other areas actually is. And something you need to be, you know, sort of careful of is some people will claim they have a global product, but that's only from a frequency perspective, because from a certifications perspective, it's very hard, it's time-consuming, and it's expensive, and it's risky as well, because especially in the current climate, if any of the components, major components in the router itself, go end of life, then you have to produce a new design and you have to revalidate. So fundamentally, that's the reason why the cost and the risk is the reason why there's actually very little out there that's truly globally certified. And just to give you an idea of the sort of bureaucratic things you need to understand, is you would have obviously CE for Europe. You actually need FCC and another thing called PTCRB, which comes from the telecoms operators as a minimum for the US. CCC for China, EAC for Russia, RCM for Australia and New Zealand, ICASA for South Africa, and I think you get the idea. The list goes on and on. The validity period of the certifications, once you've done them, is also another consideration. Who can actually hold the certificate? And fundamentally, the goal of Robustel's R1520G global 4G router is to take away all these complexities from the customer, the system integrator, the manufacturer, whoever it is that just wants to provide an internet connection, and give them a globally certified product that ticks all the boxes.
Blimey, that's a lot more complex than I'd ever thought about, I'm not going to lie. And those are two pretty big hurdles when customers are looking to deploy. And you think of some of the scale now, hundreds of thousands of devices globally and in many, many different countries. So let's hit the big question. How can you plan for your own global IoT deployment and make sure it's successful when it comes to those hurdles that we've spoken about for hardware?
Yeah, so I kind of coined a little phrase a few years back that the simplest perspective on all of this is you need a roaming SIM and a roaming router, in simple terms. So KORE Wireless certainly have, as we know, have very good options for roaming or multi-network SIMs. And of course, the multi-IMSI capability is now becoming important as well. That's probably another video, but there's a very important story that goes with limitations on permanent roaming. So fortunately, KORE have that covered. Robustel have a global router that covers the territories you need. You can see under NDA, you can see all of the details of the certs and the paperwork and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think it's the KORE and Robustel partnership on this run, a roaming SIM and a roaming router, and also expertise from members of both companies to help make sure you get it right first time.
Yeah, oh, thanks for the plug. And I didn't pay him to do that, by the way. But you're absolutely right. I mean, we launched our brand new OmniSIM product last year, and we're really, really pleased with the customer uptake, helping a load of smart metering through to water, through to drone technology and sensors and all sorts. So it sounds like being able to deploy a single SIM with a single device is quite a powerful proposition. And it's good to understand, how you can procure and configure IoT, the hardware that fundamentally meets your requirements and user preferences can be complicated. And to simplify that, they can come and talk to people like us that provide those cost-effective IoT devices for the European market. So I want to thank you very much on this Quickfire interview for joining me, David.
Not a problem at all. Thanks again for having me.
Awesome. And to those that have watched this video, thank you very much. And for more information, please go to korewireless.com.